It's Monday and it's time for some metal with me and metalhead Fred Bonanno. Fred, what's happening, my brother?
Hello, everybody. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving weekend and starting the week out right with Monday Metal, as everybody knows.
Absolutely. I've my voice is a little hoarse because I'm getting over a cold, so I won't be talking as much as usual. Fred will be the one with the working the professional jaw today.
Well, that's good because, as you know, on Monday Metal, we normally, Vince and I do a reaction to a video. Today, we got a little special added flavor to it. We are reviewing or reacting to exciting new band out there called Electric Temple. And we've got the guitar player, Tony Childs, with us today. They got their debut album, High Voltage Salvation. It'll be released this Friday, December 6th on I might be pronouncing that wrong, Eönian Records. And we got Tony with us, and the band is got some incredible talent in it. The song is just kick ass. As soon as I heard it, it came across my desk. I texted Vince and I said, we got to do this reaction video. So we're lucky enough to get the guitar player, Tony Childs. So we welcome Tony to Monday Metal.
What's up, dude?
Hey, what's up, Vince? What's up, Fred?
What's happening, man? Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. Especially when I'm surrounded by paisans. You know, I'm right at home. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I got to tell you, the funny thing is I Googled Tony Childs to see what I could come up about you. And Tony Childs, the singer from Berlin, came up.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's not the right Tony Childs. So
I know. I looked at it. I'm like, oh, there's no more words.
No. Normally, when these albums or songs come across attention to us, or Vince gets one, I get one, I don't pay attention to any of the press release. I just listen to the song and I go, shit, that's good. Or, And this was immediately, I went, shit, that's good. And then when I listened to the vocals, I said, I know that vocalist because I know Andrew Freeman, your vocalist, who I absolutely love. And the rest of the band is an all-star band. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how the band came together? You got Matt Starr on drums, who was also with Ace Frehley, Mr. Big, Ben Kicks, Mike Duda on bass, who I just saw with W.A.S.P about 3 weeks ago. And, of course, yourself on lead guitar, and Andrew Freeman from Last in Line and Lynch Mob. Tell us how this band came all about, how you started and where we're headed.
So I've been flying under the radar for many years. I was in a band many years ago that had an album out in Japan that did very well in the early 90s. And then I got into film and television music end of it. So I've been writing right along, but you wouldn't see me on an album. You'd see me on the credits at the end of maybe a film or, a TV series. But I've always had my foot in the metal. I've never left that, even though I was, playing all different genres. And coming from Connecticut and playing way back in the scene around here, I did, lucky enough, befriend several other musicians that, as you know, have graced their presence on this album. Mike Duda being one of them, who another Connecticut native who we played in bands earlier in our youth before he went on to W.A.S.P. So we've been friends for quite some time, and he played on one of our Shanghai albums back in 2000. So he and I have recorded before. And then Matt Starr, who was in a band, a Connecticut band called Run 21, with actually the current guitar player, Doug Blair from W.A.S.P. So there's been a form of us going in and out of each other's lives one way or other. I don't know, it's the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So, but what happened was I had this itch of trying to recreate something that I wasn't hearing a lot of. I was a big fan of, 80s metal, whatever you want to call it there. The Godfathers of rock, the Sabbaths, the Dios, the Priests. That's what I grew up with. That's what, as a 13-year-old, 14-year-old kid, getting that album in my hand and putting that on and hearing Ronnie James Dio's voice or Rob Halford's voice for the first time just was a religious experience for me. That's the best way I could describe it. So hence Electric Temple was born, because music is so important to me and so many others I know that are in this metal community, that it is a form of religion, closest to anything I've ever seen. And so that was the concept. Now the songs weren't exactly fully formed when I got Matt Starr on board. It was just doing rough demos with him, and he was the impetus that gave me the drive. Because when I heard the song start taking life with his incredible, drumming skills, it just snowballed to the next level. And so Matt really was, and myself, getting together, jamming on these riffs. And I have my own studio here in Connecticut. And in between his gigs, he was playing with Ace Frehley and Kicks around that time. And when he came back to Connecticut, I would get him into the studio and would cut a couple songs. Same thing with Mike Duda. Mike Duda was doing a lot of festivals around that time in Europe with W.A.S.P. And he would come back from time to time, and I would grab him. So it was a great process where seeing old friends, getting together, making music. I didn't really know where it was going to go. I just wanted to just do something I love doing, and that was really what it was about. So the singer was the next step. I wrote all the lyrics and melodies, and I started having other singers sing on it. And the songs were coming together nicely and everything, but there was just something missing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I had to really try to figure out what it was. And all this time in the back of my mind, Andrew Freeman kept that voice in my head kept saying to me, "You've got to get Andrew on this." Now Andrew was playing in Last in Line,
Mm-hmm.
and there was no way to get him in between gigs to do any vocals. But I kept sending him tracks, and I was hoping that maybe he could at least give me some feedback. So 3 months went by. Now I'm having other singers sing on the tracks, and it's going great. And then one day, out of the blue, he pops out of nowhere and goes, "Hey, I dig these songs. Yeah, I'd like to be part of it." And that was like the heavens parted. So when I heard the first song he did, I knew right away there would have been nobody that could do these songs the justice that Andrew did. He's just that incredible.
Yeah, like normally, Tony, I don't listen until we do this. But because I saw him on the microphone, I listened to the first 20 seconds. I'm like, all right, cool. Because I had to.
Yeah.
The lineup was just too good, man.
I mean, this record really is what it is. It's a record. It's a record of my life. It's me where I was in that mental and emotional frame of mind when putting these songs together. It was something that was a cathartic experience for me because of the fact that there was a lot of things going on in my life, and I needed to get those out. So this music for me was my salvation. It was something that was a healing thing for me. And Andrew took the lyrics and the melodies, and he understood where I was coming from, which is very difficult to get on that emotional page of somebody else. When I heard what he had done with the songs, it was so perfect, and he understood exactly where I was coming from.
Yeah.
I it was just like, okay, Andrew, would you do the rest of the album? And out of some kind of miracle, he had space in between all his things he's doing because he's a very busy person. He's a high, always in demand because
Right.
of his talent. And the great news was we were able to complete the album with him and the songs with the help of Chris Collier, who um, is a fantastic producer, um, mixer, and he mastered this actually as well. He's done Korn, he's done Nonpoint, he's done Mick Mars, he's played on Mick Mars' album, and that combination of these forces of nature coming together with me, um, I just couldn't be happier to say the least. I mean, it really exceeded all expectations because in the beginning it was just again just for me to get back to my roots and get out this emotional thing that I had inside that I needed artistically to get out. And when these guys came together, they knew exactly what to do, what to play for it, and that's where it all happened. It was just a process of luck and everybody being able to do this for me, and being able to in their busy lives take some time out for me, which I, you know, really thank.
Yeah, and I'm glad you went that route because I know in the press release, you quoted in here saying you were going through a rough patch, and a lot of dark things were happening around you and your loved ones. And this album, this music, this band, really got you out of it. And as you said, it's your mantra is "rock is my religion." And I know you're the main songwriter, so I can tell you were going through some rough times because some of the songs on there are not for the weak-hearted. You got Death Wish, Doomed, Streets of Pain, Kill or Be Killed. So it must have been amazing for you to see your words, hear your words brought to life by Andrew.
Yeah, and again, it was a record of my life of things that were happening, and obviously, it doesn't hurt to have some really influences of a darker nature musically to really bring that out. We together as a band grew through the songs, and as you see, it's almost like a progression as the songs were written, and it's almost the way they are on here is almost the way they were written. By the time you get to the last song, though, there is a hope, and it's not as dark at the end. What it really came to at the end of by the end of the process was I was in such a better place,
Right.
and this is a document of that.
Yeah.
The storm is about coming through a storm in your life and getting to a better place, and this music and the fact that this religious experience of bringing my brethren, this congregation of musicians together and embracing this form of music that we play, um, got me to the high voltage salvation. And that's where the title came from. It
Mhm.
was basically, and like you said, this album did take me to a better place and basically saved me from a very dark place
Yeah.
in my life.
Well, let me ask you
We've
so. So my
always,
background's in film and television, okay, and did a bunch of music videos, tour consulting, all that kind of thing. But you're used to you have a task. You're the one who tells people what to feel when they're watching something. So
Correct.
you already have a better grasp, more than I'd say an average musician who writes music for a band. You have the extra experience of just by. So how did that affect when you wrote this album? Did you feel like it was totally different because because you went from this to doing that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And you know what? It wasn't a conscious thing,
Yeah.
but I'm sure it did help because, like you said, the mood and setting a mood for something in your mind, um, this was an extension of how I felt, and I was able to capture that because that's something that I had been doing for many years. So
Right.
it definitely had probably uh, some kind of help in the background that I wasn't thinking of. But
Right.
now that you mention it to me, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I mean, it was just because you can go further than, let's say, if you didn't do that for a living, you wouldn't have been able to go that further thing that actually gets the healing part to kick in. A lot of people just get stuck in the misery of their expression, and then they don't get the healing part of it.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
you tell stories. I mean,
yeah, and it really, luckily for me, lucky for me, I'm here to tell this story
Yeah.
about how I came through a dark time in my life and how I was able to get to a better place. And now listening to the album,
Yeah.
I enjoy it because I know the end result is a positive one.
Right.
And hopefully, people will realize when they listen to this that if you're going through this thing, it's okay to feel emotions.
Absolutely.
It's okay to when you're in the shit to
Yeah.
to 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 feel that,
Right.
because if you don't get through that,
Mm-hmm.
that process of healing,
Right.
it's going to take a lot longer. You really have to hit rock bottom and build yourself to build up. At least for me,
Yeah.
um, um,
And
there
now
was
it's especially tough for men. First of all, the past however many years, shut up. Sit down. We don't want to hear from you. You're toxic. You're garbage. You're this, you're that, you're that. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, if everyone's feelings are valid, then so are men's, and quit discounting and trying to make them like. I feel really bad for the young men because all they see out in the media and that kind of thing is that men are bad. And that's really horrifying, because this podcast was started. It's basically men's mental health via fart jokes and music. Because my brother, didn't make it through his depression and he took an action. And so basically the first year and a half of this for me was my therapy. And luckily I had good friends around me that held me up, but I had to get it out. And sometimes, man, I think people don't really know. And it's too, as you get older, depression gets worse. There's more work you have to do. That's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and so that shows the power of music.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, this is something that I think more and more people now are discovering scientifically how music is such a therapeutic thing for people that
Absolutely.
they're actually using it in modern medicine now as
Yeah.
part of the healing with medical advances. So I mean, look, I don't want to get too profound about metal music because, uh, listen,
There's no
uh,
community like heavy metal. I have to say, there's
there's
no other
there,
community that touches it.
I mean, I just think there is an unspoken just language that
Yeah.
our tribe gravitates to,
Yeah.
and no matter what background you come from, we can immediately get together and put any differences aside and come together and worship this thing we call rock and roll together. And it's a religious experience where everybody is part of a congregation,
Yeah.
and it's filling our soul with something that we can't get anywhere else. And that's the key here.
Right.
There's nothing I don't think that could have helped me better than this.
Right. Right. Yeah, just like remember when we're all growing up or whatever, someone's having a hard time, maybe you're having a hard time, and your best buddy would go, "Bro, you need to listen to Ride the Lightning
Fuck yeah.
right now."
Exactly.
Or hey, you gotta number the beast. Whatever. This is what you need right now. And it was so great to see all these troubled kids, as we were called, you know, they'd be crippled when they walked in whatever setting it was that everyone hung out, and within 10 minutes, man, everyone's free and just rocking out because the music would just feed us, you know.
It was an important thing for me, and you know, any teenager is, you know, there's so many other things going on in your
Right.
world. You're trying to figure out the world. Then there's family things that always come into play, and you know, it's a difficult time for anybody in that time, that
For
age
sure.
group.
Yeah.
For me, you know, looking at a poster of Led Zeppelin and listening to Black Dog, you know, that gave me a kind of joy and or when I listened to Alice Cooper,
Yeah.
you know, that Billion Dollar Babies, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm going, you know, there was something special about this, and you knew when you looked at that
Yeah.
album and you opened it up, you knew there was something that you couldn't get anywhere else. Nobody really understood it, but
Right.
you did. For some reason, it resonated with you,
Yeah.
and that resonation of the sound waves hitting you in a certain way made you feel so much better
Yeah.
after listening. I mean, and you listen to Fade to Black. It was dark, you know, all this stuff, but it wasn't bringing you down. It was bringing you up, and that's the thing I loved about when they used to bring all these bands to trial, like Ozzy with Suicide Solution and
Right. Right.
Judas Priest,
Judas Priest. Yeah.
and and what they missed out on is that the fact that the music was helping these kids
Right.
because they weren't getting it from their parents
Well, here's the problem, because back then,
or mental health
yeah,
professionals.
and back then, you know, even if you sighed, it was a sign of talking back. You know, like, what'd you say? Whack. Nothing, ma. You know, but everyone thought that metalheads were Jeff Spicoli. That's how
Right.
they were portrayed in the media, and I never understood that. I'm like, all the metalheads I know are really fucking smart. They read, they know, you know, several genres of music. They know about poetry. Like they're plugged in, and you guys are just ignoring what's really there. And that
Well,
was the whole problem, is the ignoring everything.
well, you can't judge a book by its cover, and that's what the problem is. The metal community has always been judged by their cover. You
Right.
know, we tend to like black.
Right.
We tend to gravitate to things that, you know, that the mainstream wouldn't normally wear. You
Right.
know, but at the end of the day, you know, if you start talking, like you said, to certain people and get to know them, you'd realize that there is no Spicoli here.
Right.
Just another person that happens to have found something that makes them feel good. And
Right.
at the end of the day, in this world of misery and all these other things, to have something that hold on to that can make you feel a certain way and find other people that
Yeah.
you can experience that with is again a religious experience.
Yeah, like
Right. And there,
I would wonder at the people back in the day when I'd bring people in who weren't necessarily metalheads into the, we had this place called the Barn. 200 of us hung in there every day, every day. And they would, you could see the confused look on their face when they'd walk into a discussion about Norse mythology versus Greek mythology and how they correlate. And they're like, what is going, and then they're, you know, mixing in with Dungeons and Dragons and Lord of the Rings and everything, and they'd be blown away. I'm like, see, you know, like, just like not all jocks were stupid, most of them.
well, and you think about some of the incredible songs written out there. I mean, Dio was an amazing songwriter, and Operation Mindcrime, what an incredible album that is. Some early Rush. I mean, it wasn't just all about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. There was a lot of thought, a lot into there,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
it's, you know,
I mean, Temple Syrinx was like another religious album for me.
Yeah.
You know that that you open up that Rush album, Again, this is what I loved about having experienced other friends in that genre of music, which didn't really have a name. It was metal or rock or whatever you want to call it, but you had people that were listening to AC/DC,
Mhm.
Rush, okay, Foghat. You
Right.
had Saxon, okay. You could go to all these different, which you could pigeonhole today now maybe,
Right.
but there were no. Everything was the genres are blurred back then. Blister Cult would come out with this really crazy, esoteric kind of sound, and then they come out with Godzilla. They could do you could do this stuff.
Right.
That's what I loved about growing up in that time because we were exposed to so many different elements of music,
Hmm.
and we didn't have to choose or be pigeonholed into any category. I mean, I love Southern rock.
Yeah.
Leonard Skinner was such a big band. Also, Angus Young and Malcolm Young, right side by side, two
Right.
posters. It was there was a synergy there. It didn't matter. You could put anybody next to those bands back then. You could put Kiss right next to Black Sabbath. It worked fine for me, or
Yeah.
Pink Floyd. So for that matter, I love the time that I grew up in because of that fact that we had so much to offer and listen to that had different textures and
For sure.
emotions and because people are complex.
Yeah.
Our emotions are complex. We're complex human beings and we feel different things at different times. And depending on how we felt, we would gravitate to that song or that band at that moment. If we wanted the musician in us, if we wanted to get a little more proggy, the Rush was right there for us.
Right.
But there were some great songs that for the mainstream that they had to. But YYZ is something that most musicians, the musician guys would learn that and we'd play that and then we'd play, Ride the Lightning or something. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
So, but I can't say enough how much living in that time. I'm so glad I experienced all that.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah, absolutely. There'll
Foghat.
never be a time like it.
Foghat. Fred, what was that club on Route 83 in St. Charles Road? Foghat used to play there every month. It was like constantly.
The
But it was like, they're always around. And then, when we interviewed Rudy Sarzo, we learned that him and
rock garden.
yeah, him and Frankie were living 2 miles from us during the 80s, during their biggest thing. And how in the hell did we not know that? You know what I mean? Like, how in the hell did
Yeah.
we not know Rudy Sarzo was living?
You know.
What? Like, you would have thought that would have been everywhere. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
nowhere because people back then didn't start, you know.
Who were some of your major influences growing up, Tony?
Well, I was a big VH fan just because I was a guitar player, and
Yeah.
then Randy came along, and then
Right.
that just changed, me as a guitar player. It just took me in a whole different frame of mind too. Both equally great, and you could get in this debate, who's better. There is no such thing. They're
There's
just
No.
they're But I grew up listening to the radio, just like you did, because really that's what we had. There wasn't like we had money to go out and buy a lot of albums, or back then it was 8-track or cassettes. You
Mhm.
know, we would listen to the radio. So your local rock station, again, had a format where you would listen to a lot of different things. So again, I was listening to my era was a lot of Southern rock was coming out around that time.
Yeah.
Um, if you were a little bit earlier in the '70s, you were listening to AC/DC and Aerosmith. But my first concert I ever went to was Cheap Trick, and that
Awesome.
seeing Rick Nielsen
Yeah.
at 13 years old in New Haven Coliseum. It was again. I don't want to keep saying religious experience, but it fucking was a religious
Oh yeah. I've seen those
experience.
guys 15 times.
And to me, it was like I want to do that.
Right. And they are one of the best American rock bands ever.
Hands
Yeah.
down, hands
Yeah.
down.
Well, when I was 14-ish, I was listening to the Beach Boys and Johnny Angel, and then somebody introduced me to Black Sabbath, and it changed my world completely. I went into metal and never looked back. And the very first concert I ever went to was the guy over my left shoulder here, Alice. Welcome to my nightmare. And if that doesn't get you going, that was a theatric show in itself. And I was like, how in the hell could you not love this music? And some of it's fantasy, some of it's real life, some of it's just fun. But I have been to, Vince knows, I go to concerts all the time. I've been to thousands of concerts. I have never, ever been disappointed at a concert. Never. I am totally entertained. I just have never been disappointed. And I will continue to go to concerts till the day they put me in the ground, because I love music and I love live, which brings me to my next question, Tony. I know everyone's busy. You're gonna take this band on the road?
I would love to do that, and we're discussing the possibility of doing it, even if we can't get every single member who played on the album. We may have some other musicians that can come in and out, and so we can at least get the music out there live, because I really want to play it live.
I'd love to see
So
it.
thank you. So that being said, it's something that we're in talks with, and we're working on it right now with everybody's schedule. So I hope sooner than later.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I was having a conversation last week with some younger folks at my job, and we were talking about live performances, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I saw this clip of so and so." I'm like, "Oh my god, the guy, blah blah." I'm like, "You know why you feel that way?" And they're like, "Why?" I said, "Because all the bands that you go see sing to track, and you've never
Yeah.
seen a live performance by an actual band all performing live at the same time.
Yeah, that's sad, because
You go see performances, it's more Broadway than, let's say, a band in some instances, but
well, I mean, I could say, going back to our day, it was okay when the guitar cut out.
yeah,
Because it was interesting. You're like, oh shit, his guitar cut out, and then you see Pete Way running across, jumping off columns, and his guitar cord pulled out.
Right.
And some roadie would scramble over there and plug him back in, and he'd start.
And then everyone would,
Yeah, and then he'd have his feet up in the. Listen, there's nothing like David Lee Roth in a live thing.
absolutely.
I don't care if he's not singing every words. Look what he's doing as he's doing these moves and doing it. It's the experience of everything coming together. That arena rock experience didn't have to sound like the album.
Right.
It was everybody enjoying that music and seeing these guys do it live. And for me, there's been a lot of people lip syncing these days and everything, like that. And I hope that people just realize, hey, you know what? And like you said, some people, the older fans who back in the day went to real concerts before there were backing tracks.
Yeah. And I'm not discounting necessarily. It's just a different thing.
Well, I mean, look, I can understand certain backing tracks.
Absolutely.
Because there are certain things on an album you can't recreate live, especially if you have some special effects going on.
Well, try playing Operation Mindcrime without playing a track. That's totally different, because you need that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have the keyboard parts and everything that sometimes some bands just don't have the money to bring a keyboard player on tour with them. I mean, the reality of it right now, there's no music, there's no money music.
Right.
So if you have to scrape to kill on tour, I mean, that's what Judas Priest was talking about, doing only one guitar.
Yeah, that wouldn't. Yeah, when they said, I'm like, they can't be hurting for cash. I mean, guarantee,
But, I mean, the reality of today is it's not like it used to be.
Oh, absolutely.
The reality is everybody's looking to at least be able to pay their bills on tour. And so there's certain things that you know I'm like, okay, I understand why you're doing that. But at the end of the day, you know, if you're backtracking and singing lead vocals, that's,
Yeah.
you know, that I don't want that. I don't want to. I mean, you know,
And to be fair, because you mentioned Dave, because I'm a huge Van Halen 6-pack fan. No better front man in the history of rock and roll, period, end of sentence, end of paragraph, end of book, close it, put it on the bookshelf. There is no better front man, not vocalist, front man. When you went to Van Halen show, you knew you were going to be entertained. You weren't worried about, is he going to hit that? No, you know, he'll get it. If he missed a yelp, he'll get a yelp in elsewhere. Now he's kung fu champion.
And how crazy is when they were ready to record the debut album, the producer said to Eddie, David's good, but I got somebody better for you. He suggested Sammy Hagar. And Eddie said, no, David's our guy. Maybe he's not the greatest vocalist in the world, but like you said, Vince, on stage, he made it come alive.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's all about, especially when you go see a band. You don't want to see a band just trudging through. You want to see a band that's out there.
Oh, and like I had close friends who made fun of me for decades. Like, you're still holding out for the Dave reunion. I'm like, it'll happen. It'll happen. It has to happen. And when it did, we were there, you know.
Yeah, I mean, David Lee Roth is an enigma. I mean, you know, there's nothing more exciting about a guy that, if you look at that Van Halen one, and I'm doing the splits, and then you know, and then and I'm getting back to I'm going to tie it into Andrew, understanding where I was coming from musically.
Yeah,
I think that synergy between Roth and Eddie, he took that music to where it needed to go, especially when Van Halen was in its prime and there was some serious heavy guitar riffs going on back then.
Oh yeah,
you know, and it needed an edge,
right?
And David Lee Roth, he fit the bill perfectly. Okay, I thought his vocals. I don't think anybody could ever do those vocals better than him on those at least those fourth albums.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. I don't think anybody could have done it any better. Maybe vocally they could have done it better, but it's the attitude.
Yeah.
The attitude and something that we call charisma. He adds charisma.
And the swagger.
That's it. That's it. Listen, you got the best guitar player in the world out there. You got one of the best drummers out there. You got a bass player that can sing lead and fill everything in. He's incredible. Where are you gonna top that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You need a front man.
Absolutely.
You can't be overshadowed. If David Lee Roth, when you went to see a Van Halen thing, guess what? Everybody would just be watching it or Van Halen. I wasn't, and I was a guitar player.
Right.
I wanted to see what David Lee Roth
I wanted to be Dave.
I mean, if you can accomplish that with the talent that you have on that stage, enough said, right?
Absolutely. I could do the kick. I could do the splits. You know, it was a little martial arts training in there, but I wanted to be Dave.
And he'll tell you he's going to go fuck your girlfriend after the show, too.
Yeah. He did that when I saw him back at the United Center or Chicago Stadium years ago.
You know, and it's
somebody threw something there.
People say, oh, you always use that line. It's scripted. Yeah, but it's in the delivery, man. Everyone's waiting for that moment, you know.
Right.
But my sons, their first show is David Lee Roth. My youngest, 3 years old, On My Shoulders. My 7-year-old's dancing with 2 college chicks. What better intro to music do you need?
No. Do you remember in high school you had the yearbooks and you could always put your own quotes in?
Yeah.
Well, my quote was a David Lee Roth quote. You keep one eye on the road and one eye on the rearview mirror so you can see how cool you look when you're getting somewhere.
And that's what rock and roll is all about.
Cheers to that. That is so cool.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, like you said, there is no substitute for the Van Halen with Roth.
Absolutely. It's like
nothing against Sammy. I
Oh,
love
not at
Sammy
all.
on it,
Totally different thing. Totally different thing.
but it wasn't the Van Halen that I,
Yeah.
you know, that,
Like my ex-wife was a few years older and she was really into Bon Jovi and that was her band, and that's fine, whatever. And she didn't really get it with Dave. So after we're married, whatever, there was the World Heavyweight Champs tour with Sam and Dave in Chicago. He's from Chicago. So he headlined that show. And midway through the show, she turns and looks to me. She goes, "I get it."
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't. I mean, no one like him, and people say he's crazy. Yep, are crazy.
That's it's called rock and fucking roll.
Absolutely,
Okay?
absolutely. And speaking of another great front man, I hear this one is fronting this band right now. His voice is so good, dude. So good. And right out the bat, you guys got a killer groove going, man. Right out of the bat.
Oh,
Right
yeah.
Where your life just wastes away. Keep on searching for the answer. How does light turn into gray? Ghosts are calling, black rain is falling. Can't find the sun in this empty place. Dark is your soul, swallows you up and never lets you go. Dark is your soul.
And totally that's what it feels like when you're in your lowest. You're getting sucked right into a fucking black hole abyss of shit.
That's it.
And your lyrics are spot on, man. Big time.
It's a big black hole.
Yeah, exactly. Gaping black hole.
Swallows you up and never lets you go. Never lets you go. Oh, now we got trouble in this big sky when nothing seems to fill the void, and your spirit has been broken when your shooting star was destroyed. Ghosts are calling, black rain is falling. I can't find the sun in this empty place.
The black viscous tar of depression, man. Totally. And I like the imagery that you have of the people covered in a sheet, which is a bit like almost like a Magritte painting, but they're trying to break out of that thin line that separates them from sanity and insanity. And dude, that's really, really cool, because it does feel like when you get there, you're just ripping that old layer of skin off you, the ick. Right on.
Dark is your soul, swallows you up and never lets you go. No. Dark is your soul, swallows you up and never lets you go. Can you hear them calling you? They're calling you. Can you hear them? The ghost inside.
That bass line's insane, dude. He's going at it.
Calling you. I can't drop these demons down.
Okay, that's an SG you're playing there, right?
Correct.
What year is that? Because that is a pretty guitar.
Yeah, so that has some mojo on it. That's 77.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's been well preserved. It actually got repainted. It used to.
I was going to ask if
yeah.
it got resurfaced for sure.
Yeah, it got repainted. It has some cracks. It got dropped a bunch of times, but it was a good fit visually. And
Yeah.
you'll look at the other video we have. I have another 78 SG that I play. That's black. So this one was because I wanted a white guitar.
Sure.
It's just
Right.
visually.
Yeah. And what I liked about your solo, you started on a note that most people don't. Usually that's 3 or 4 bars in with the note that you hit, and that was really cool because then you came back around to that.
With the harmonic thing.
Little tip to Eddie VH,
Yeah.
you know. But sounded fantastic, man.
Thanks.
And those SGs, how's your shoulder and your back?
A lot better than Les Paul. Let me tell you that. I'll take an SG any day.
Right? Yeah. It's amazing. Isn't that amazing that all those, what is it, $8 million worth of fake Gibsons?
Right.
The
Gibsons. But I mean, that's why little poor Angus, that was his guitar choice because it is one of the lighter guitars you could play. It still gets that chunky sound.
Yeah, I had a SG Angus copy from Sears. It was like when it was the year Back in Black, so 1980.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first 2 purchases for albums, I mentioned this on the show last week, was The Great White North and AC/DC Back in Black. And that Christmas, I bought the SG, and I was just enamored by, wow, I didn't think there was any other guitar player other than Eddie Van Halen and Ace Frehley at the moment,
Right.
So that he's so good too. But sorry.
Dark is your soul, it swallows you up and never lets you go. No, dark is your soul, it swallows you up and never lets you go. Never lets you go. It never lets you go. Let's go! Ghosts are calling, black rain is falling.
Woo.
That was
Wow.
awesome, dude.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Man, I don't know who those other lead singers you interviewed with, but I'm sure you went, thank God Andrew said yes, huh?
I got to tell you, they were great singers too, and it's not it's the little things
Yeah.
that sometimes
Yeah.
make all the difference in the world, and it's just when Andrew has a subject matter that he can get into,
Yeah.
and his emotion connects with it. There's no better than that. And I was lucky enough to have somebody that, again, musically understood the songs.
Yeah, and it
You
was
sure
really
did.
interesting. His vocal started out more serious, and by the time the song ended, it was a happy vocal. Even though he's telling you dark things, but from behind, looking in the mirror.
Yeah, I mean, there is elements of this band that we try to keep it a little bit light because
Sure.
of the fact that we don't want to come off so dark that because we're not dark people. We're not dark people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we all have the ability to be in those places, and
Oh, absolutely.
so we wanted to have fun in this video because really it was a celebration of us coming together, doing this video, and just like recording an album, that this is a record of that day of us being on set together and just celebrating the fact that we were all being able to do this video together. So, you know, I mean, some of the stuff like when he wanted to hit the guitar, I mean, that wasn't orchestrated. He just, you know,
Right. That was totally cool in the moment.
Yeah.
he felt. I mean, this is the good stuff. It's like, you know, we don't set out to have an agenda and we're trying to be ourselves. And you know, the fact of the matter is, it's a dark subject, but we're trying to make light of some of the darkness that
Right.
that you know, you can have fun with this music too.
Yeah, because out of darkness comes the light. So you know what I mean?
Without
Absolutely.
dark, there is no light.
Absolutely. The
Yeah.
great yin and yang. You'll never know a good day if you don't have a bad one.
But we had a lot of fun shooting that. It was at a studio in LA, and you know, us all converging to do that video was a great time together. We enjoyed it.
Oh, Tony froze.
up there.
Let's see here. Hopefully he'll come back.
Now I'm gone
Let's
too.
see here.
There he is. Okay. You froze there for a second.
Oh, there he is.
Okay.
Okay.
It's the Russians. China. The Martians. Wait, isn't it December 3rd? Oh, no. Just kidding. Exactly. Chemtrails. But, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, so album drops Friday.
Friday,
Yeah, we're
6th.
I gotta-
Eönian Records.
Eönian Records, Steven and Ryan from Eönian have really been great. We had a lot of discussions about how everything was going to come in, and they were always on the same page. You know, we were discussing other labels at one time, and it was such a good fit with those guys, and them understanding what we wanted to do and how we wanted to portray it. So we're very happy to be on Eönian, and I can't wait to get it out there into the masses. So
Absolutely. And coming from any kind of creative endeavor, like, you know, like you work in a lot of film and television, you know, the best things I've ever worked on is when people just let you do what you do. Hey, what about the, don't worry about it. That's what he does. Let him do what he does, crawl out of his, and let him just do what he does. Because in the end,
Yeah.
that's why we hired him or her. That's what they do, you know.
and if I can just take that in context of the album,
Yeah.
Matt Starr, I didn't tell him anything to play on this album. Okay, instinctively, this when you get people at this level,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, this is the guy who played with Mr. Big, Ace Frehley. You know what I'm saying? And the list goes on. He plays for the song, and you know, he has his own style.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you know, you let them do what they do.
Right.
Like, you know, Mike Duda, you do what you do. You know, Andrew Freeman, you do what you do. I mean, there's a structure that's there. But,
Sure.
But I never had to say, hey, could you do this or that? When they got on these tracks and played them, I was like, holy crap.
Right. Because that's what they do.
That's what they do. This is,
Yeah.
and for me, you know, working a lot on my own for many years, you know, doing the film and television stuff, to be able to work again with you know, these musicians that are constantly playing live and knowing they're honing their craft every day, and to see the level of professionalism,
Yeah.
to me was mind-boggling how it all came together so quickly with them.
Yeah, and there's a reason why they are who they are, you know.
Absolutely.
And when a lot of people, you know, sometimes you'll get projects that come together and they're fighting the thing that makes them, you know.
For me, as the producer on this project, it made it very easy for me. Basically, I just had to produce myself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I can tell you, I'm glad you got out from behind the camera and the board and got out front, because that kick-ass album, I can't wait to hear the rest of the album. I'm sure it's just as good, if not better, than what we just heard. And
Absolutely.
releases Friday, and you can get it. You guys got a website, or just go to the records?
Well, you can go to eonianrecords.com, which is where you can get the album. You could always visit electrictemple.com, which is the band site, and you have links for everything and merchandise there too. And and you get all sign up for our updates. Sign up to the site, and so you can keep in the know what's going on. And then we're also hopefully like we touched upon before about possibly playing live soon. Get on in the bands in town. We're on there too.
Absolutely.
And give us
Spread the
feedback.
word, people.
We love to hear from you. Get the links to our social pages and comment on stuff or our YouTube on the videos there stuff. We really want to hear. I personally, I want to hear all kinds of comments, but what really would make me happy is if, and I've already had this feedback. People who have listened to some of these songs and said this has helped me through a bad time. If I just get that, I'm a happy camper.
Right. For just one
That's
person.
huge, yeah. That's
One
huge,
person
yep.
that said, thank you for this. That means the world to me.
Well, I'm sure it's going to happen because the songs are powerful, and a lot of times, like when you make a video like that, you only have a certain amount of money, but your video lined up with your words and your emotion of the song, and everyone's a great player, including yourself. All those links are down below, so click on it, go subscribe, go follow, buy some merch, definitely go buy their music, and see them live when they go out, and
yeah.
Absolutely. Tony, you've been a great guest, man. You're
a
welcome
great
back.
hang, Vince and Fred. I'd love to come back.
Absolutely. Anytime, man.
Anytime.
Welcome to Pod Family. Anytime.
Thank you, Tony.
Going on, come on. If you don't got anything going on, you want to hang, we're here, brother. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
All right.
Take care, Tony. Thanks.
All righty. Fred, we will see
Yes,
you
sir.
next Monday or during the week.
Yes, sir.
And on Saturday
Maybe
show.
during the week. Yeah, I might join you Saturday. We're dog sitting, so I might be home Saturday. So
all right.
I was actually planning on joining you this Saturday.
Yeah, we
were just going out with a. You did? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We wound up. Yeah, I was going to give you a shout, and we wound up meeting a friend he wanted to discuss some stuff with us, and that led to another. Next thing you know, it was midnight.
Because usually we do the show for people who don't know. We usually do the live show on Saturday nights, 9 p.m. Chicago time. And I texted Jason the following morning, and we had both each slept in our own chairs. Like we fell asleep in the chair. I fell asleep in the chair like 9:30. He spent the whole night. So we obviously we needed some time off, But
yeah, you need that sometimes. Good. Then I didn't disappoint.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm going to try to join you this Saturday and I'll go over my list of my favorite rock ballads.
Right on. There you go. All righty. So like every week, we'll see you on Monday, and we'll make it metal.